What did you do to get help, and how did you know that you needed it? And it had to be something different than that you did before.
Yeah, the same therapist that I had during our separation, our prior to our divorce, that tried to help us. I got really close with him, professionally, of course. And I called him one day, and I was just like, Dr. Lewis, like, you saw me and her at our worst, but what did you see in me? And he was like, I'm glad you called me. He said, I really wanted to work with you one-on-one because I saw a lot of things in you that I just didn't want to discuss in front of her. I wanted you to deal with you. He said, so I'm glad you called me. Can you come in? I said, absolutely. That was single-handedly the best decision I ever made. I came into there for that first session. I don't think I've ever cried that hard. I didn't realize I was holding on to as much trauma and anger and frustration as it was years of it. Years. And we touched those surfaces lightly, but when he started getting into my kids and especially my dad, I lost it. He literally, one exercise we did that changed my life, he turned the lights out and he sat the chair in the middle of the floor. And he said, you're still angry that you don't have the answers that you want from your father. Now that he's gone, you can't get the answers you want. How does that make you feel? And I broke down. And he gave me a Kleenex box and he said, if your dad was sitting in his chair, what would you ask him? And he got up from the chair and he walked out the room. And before he closed the door, he said, talk to your dad. I broke down. And that's when I knew that all this was coming from, was stemming from me holding on to this anger that I just did not have the bond with my father that I wanted. And I was desperately searching for my identity, and I was finding it in the fleshly ways. And that's all it was. And I had no control over it because I was so angry at him dying and not giving me the answers that I wanted, that I was taking it out on what I thought was everybody else. But it really was, I was beating myself up. I was a self-destructing demise. It was crazy. And when I sat there, he left me sitting there for about 5 to 10 minutes. And when he came back in, I was shaking so bad, I couldn't get my words together. And the only thing I could ask is, why? Why did you leave me like that? Like, why didn't you just tell me who I was or show me who you were? Like, do you know how bad I wanted you in my life? Like, it was crazy. And so when I started feeling that, that's when I started internalizing what my kids may be feeling about me. At that point,
you knew what my next question was. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And from that point, I called my boys. I flew out and I sat with my two oldest, because by this time they were back in North Carolina. I sat with my boys on a bleacher on a field at Fort Bragg. They were old enough to understand. And I gave them the short version of it. But in essence, that's where the book came from. I was telling them everything about their father being a hoe and trying to become a husband. And that's exactly where the title came from. I said, y'all know what a hoe is, right? They were like, yeah, Dad, we hear it in the rap songs and stuff. You like a lot of women you date. And even they could remember some of the women I dated. They were like, well, whatever happened to such and such and whatever happened. I'm like, dang, y'all remember that? I thought y'all were too young. They were like, nah, remember her. She had the kids. And these were just women in between the main relationships that they remember.
Yeah,
And I was like, wow, they were watching me the whole time.
Always are.
And then the big questions came. Why'd you leave my mom? Are you ever coming back? Boom, boom, boom. Broke me down. And I was just like, look, man, from this point forward, I'm going to tell y'all everything about y'all father that y'all need to know, whether it's good or bad, because I didn't have that with my father. And I want y'all to know before I leave this earth, I need you to know Dad ain't perfect. Dad ain't Superman. Dad tried.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
But y'all are my motivating factors, and I love y'all. Regardless of whatever I went through with me, I won't let that spill over into you. I need y'all to be better than me. I need y'all to be better than me. And I'm telling you this because I'm giving you the cheat code to life. You don't have to live this life that I chose to live. I promise you. I ain't out here doing nothing super crazy, but if whether your drug is the drug of choice is drugs or crime or money, mine's was sex. And it's just as deadly if you don't play it right. If you play it wrong. And I played it way too many times.
If it definitely can be deadly, but I mean, as far as like the heaviness on your soul, the heaviness in you, like later on, people, I know women, who have gone through sexual promiscuity when they're younger and they go through things. They end up, it weighs on them later in life. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They understand. And they realize that things, the direction of their life is different. They got outcomes that probably aren't the same because they made certain decisions. It's no different for us.
That's it.
It ain't no different for us. And it's one of those things to me when it comes to sex, I think it's because it destroys you morally so much, even for men. I know we can do it and maybe emotionally detach and can be okay with the effects and the consequences from it more than I think ladies can be.
Right.
But the reality is it still tears away from a moral perspective.